Yeah, welcome to my short speech today, and sorry again for the delay. I had a very awesome journey from Hamburg with several flight delays, but now I'm here, so fresh from Zurich now. And I'm here to talk a little bit about additive manufacturing, why we have been in a hype phase for quite some time, and now we are slowly transcending into a more industrial phase of the technology. And I want to take you back a little bit to the year 2019. That was the time our company was 2 years old. We founded 2017. In 2019, we had our first larger commitment with a larger client, a big multinational company that asked us to review their additive manufacturing strategy. And that was the first time we got in touch with slides and strategies that were from the time from 2016, 2015 maybe, when several very large corporations started entering this market with several hundred millions of euros they invested into this technology, into additive manufacturing. And it was those nice, shiny slide decks we came across there from the big consultancies that we all know. And we were wondering what drove them to hyping this technology to this extent that they did for such a time. And there was something that was very interesting to see in those slides. What often popped up is this: you can't afford to miss. And I think that was something back in 2019, if we look back further, like I said, 2016 maybe, those companies were seeing in additive manufacturing a huge market potential in changing all of metal and polymer manufacturing out there. And we saw growth rates projected 25, 26, 27% even sometimes, the usual hockey stick we all saw before. And that was the time when we all put very big expectations into this technology. And interestingly, in 2019, when we started working with this big client on their strategy and additive and reviewing the strategy they set up back in 2016, we came back to those slide decks and were wondering and asking ourselves, what is the true market size we are at today, and what is the true market potential, and why are we not capable of really leveraging all that potential that is out there for additive? So we started doing our own market research, our own market report back in those days, challenging a little bit the reports that are out there. And we needed to do something different. I mean, the reports, the market analysis you see out there is mostly based on asking the supply chain what they sold and what they're going to sell in the next 5 years. So we needed to do something different. And we did that by not only talking to the supply chain, how much material did you sell, how much are you thinking to sell in the next 5 years, how many machines you want to install, how much parts you want to produce in the next years. We had to also ask the users and the customer actually in the end, what are you planning and which technology do you see, which kind of machines do you want to install the next couple of years? And that's something we did in our report the first time, 2019, and up to this date in March 2023, the last report came out. And we're now going to keep going on this, but obviously the growth rates we saw and the volumes we saw are significantly lower than the projections we had back then. So to get back to the question, what went wrong, or where did those very big consultancies with their shiny strategy decks of several hundred pages, where did they go wrong, and where was it difficult in the end for all those companies to move and make a strong move in this industry? And in the end, over the past couple of years, since 2019, since we started talking more and more to users and asking them, two main aspects came out, and that's the hurdle of implementation and the return of invest. Those are, in the end, the most critical success factors, let's say, to to leverage additive manufacturing. We all expected AM to become much cheaper over the years. That didn't necessarily happen. It became more cheaper, but not as much as we probably anticipated 10 years ago, maybe. And I think everyone underestimated the hurdle of implementation. It's so difficult to change a running system. If a company earns money with the traditional manufacturing method, it's extremely difficult to persuade them to change this technology if there's not a certain driver in the market from a customer, from a competitor, or anywhere else that makes them change. And this change usually takes 5 to 10 years. It's not done tomorrow. If we buy an AM machine today, we cannot run it tomorrow. And we don't have products on the market tomorrow. It mostly takes several years. Return of invest is the other big hurdle we see. We have often encountered countless use cases that had great designs, great use of the technology, but they were not a business case. And maybe even they were a business case. But again, you need to invest into the technology and make it happen, to really transform the way you manufacture. If your traditional way is still earning you money, it's difficult to change. So we now see more, now coming from 2019 now to 2023, we see a more maturing market. And that you can especially see when we compare the user and supplier forecasts that we assess each year. It's around the time January, February when we do those calls, and it's roughly 300 calls we do every year in this time period with buyers and suppliers of the additive manufacturing market. And especially for laser powder bed fusion, we see a much more maturing technology behavior and forecast behavior now, because you can see both of those predictions converge more. That's not the same case for other technologies. If we look at other technologies, it's much different. And I think the most prominent ones are binder jetting, obviously, for the metal side. And those are also DED technologies. DED technologies gained a lot of traction in the past couple of years. So most of those dots that you see in the upper right corner, there's LPBF all the way on the right up corner, but then there are several DED technologies coming very close to that. And those technologies made big jumps in the past couple of years with use cases in, again, aviation, energy industry. But there are some that are scratching on this area of industrial use. And one of the most prominent ones that we come across a lot these days is binder jetting. Binder jetting has made significant jumps. We all know it's as old as laser powder bed fusion, but for a long time it didn't experience this strong growth rates. And now, since several companies invested a lot of money into this technology, we expect it to make more jumps in the future. But again, we're going through the same rate of implementation hurdle and ROE hurdles that we have to go through with every customer who is trying to implement this technology. And again, if we look at the comparison of the supplier versus the buyer forecast, look at binder jetting, the dark, you can see it, the dark green area. We have now a market share of roughly 5% of binder jetting machines being sold into the market. And for 2027, we have a pretty similar forecast for binder jetting from buyer and supplier side. Naturally, the supplier is more optimistic and seeing a larger market share there in the market. But even buyers are seeing that they are looking for this technology, and they're looking for buying R&D machines, buying their first machines now to start learning with the technology. For the powder metallurgy industry, it's also interesting that there's material extrusion. That's the third one from the top. And we've seen we are now at market shares of roughly 6% in this case, so around about the same revenue we make with binder jetting right now in the market. And in the forecast, the supplier is much more optimistic than the buyer, which means that companies who currently use additive manufacturing systems that are based on material extrusion, so filament-based systems or pellet-based systems for printing green parts and sintering them, are not extremely optimistic right now. The technology is seemingly extremely difficult to handle, and also in the investment hurdle is quite high, except maybe some of the open systems that we know from BASF, for example. And this is a big barrier because we see that suppliers are still investing into this technology and hoping for better numbers there. But on the other hand, if you ask existing additive manufacturing customers, they don't see a big future there. But we also have a little bias in our survey, of course, because we only talk to companies who already know additive manufacturing, who are already in this technology. So maybe in metal material extrusion, there's a certain market that we don't know yet, that the suppliers see, that are not very experienced yet with additives, so they are not on our radar yet in our survey. But again, even 5 years from now, powder bed fusion will still be the dominating technology with between 66 and 71%, somewhere in this market share range, the truth will be. Now, is it worth still looking into technologies that are increasing speeds? And of course, it makes sense to increase speeds, to increase productivity, to reduce costs, because we see from the data that markets might increase. The addressable markets for additive manufacturing increase. And we just have the example here for aluminum, but we did the same analysis for stainless steel, for tool steel, for titanium, for nickel and chrome. And it is a similar development, sometimes stronger, sometimes less strong. But here in this case for aluminum, we're able to massively increase the addressable market by reducing the cost per part that we can achieve. And this can only be done by changing the way we look at additive manufacturing, by increasing speed of either laser powder bed fusion or binder jetting. We don't define here which one it might be. But if we're able to reduce costs, if we're able to come closer to this area where we are today with manufacturing costs, we can definitely increase the market share. So it's worth investigating those technologies and doing the R&D work. So what's driving the growth? Back to the initial slide about over expectations in the markets. Interestingly, we still, also from our perspective, now see this 20-ish% growth rate in the future for metal AM. And why is that the case? We have more drivers now. We have a more mature growth, which means companies are not buying their first machine anymore, but they're buying several machines. They're ordering 5, 10, 15 machines at once. So the order numbers get higher. Also, the ticket price for machines gets higher. The average ticket price gets higher because companies buy larger machines nowadays. They don't buy a small 250 millimeter laser powder machine anymore. They buy one that's in the range of 400 to 500 millimeters. So ticket pricing gets higher, hence also the market is growing. There is a clear change, and we heard that just now in terms of sustainability focus. And although in many cases printing a part versus casting a part is not an advantage, the advantage comes in most cases from the design. But this is driving the industry right now, especially in aviation and energy. We see a lot of potential to reduce the carbon footprint during the life cycle of the application, which can only be printed. And it's increasing the performance of energy parts, of gas turbines, etc. And then another growth driver will be the development of new machines. We talked about laser powder bed and binder jetting, but there's also completely new technology approaches. As we can see in the Boston area, 2 major companies are really changing the way they're printing now. And this might also fuel growth in the next 5 years to increase the market and to increase the overall market of metal additive manufacturing. All right, that's all from my side about the market numbers and the additive manufacturing developments in metal in the past years. I'm open for questions. I'm going to be around today, and yeah, happy to talk to you.